Have you ever said "I have no friends" and felt your chest drop like the world just confirmed your worst fear? Have you ever been in a room full of people and still felt alone, like you were watching life through glass? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about loneliness in a way that does not shame you for feeling it. Loneliness is not proof that you are broken. Loneliness is a signal that you want connection, safety, belonging, and to be seen. And that signal can turn into suffering when the mind adds a second layer of stories like "I am unlikable," "I will always be alone," "nobody cares," "something must be wrong with me." Those stories become karma, not because the universe is punishing you, but because repeated stories train your nervous system and shape your choices. Then destiny starts to feel locked, even though it is being built moment by moment. Two truths will carry us through this entire episode. First, loneliness is a human experience, not a personal failure. Second, the way you relate to loneliness can either tighten the cage or open a door. Mindful sense gives you the door. Wisdom shows you where the door leads. Compassion is what helps you walk through it without turning back into self-attack. Practice is how you keep walking. Karma is what happens when you repeat the walking. Destiny shifts when your repetition changes. Now let me tell you a story. There was a person named Eli. Eli could laugh. Eli could perform normal. Eli could answer questions at school. Eli could join group chats and send the right reaction at the right time. From the outside, Eli looked fine. That word "fine" can hide so much. Fine can mean you are functioning while hurting. Fine can mean you are doing everything you can to not be noticed. Fine can mean you are holding your breath all day. Eli had one sentence that appeared at night like a heavy blanket. "I have no friends." Sometimes the sentence came after scrolling through photos of people hanging out. Sometimes it came after seeing classmates make plans without inviting Eli. Sometimes it came after a conversation that felt awkward. Sometimes it came for no clear reason at all. Just a quiet emptiness that arrived when the day got silent. At first, Eli told themselves it was not a big deal. Plenty of people are lonely. It will change. But the body did not believe the comfort. The body felt the loneliness as physical sensation. A pressure in the chest. A hollow feeling in the stomach. A tight throat that made it hard to speak up in the first place. That is the trap. Loneliness hurts. And the hurt makes you withdraw. And the withdrawal makes loneliness stronger. Eli tried the usual strategies. Eli tried to act cooler. Eli tried to say less so there would be fewer chances to mess up. Eli tried to copy how confident people talked. Eli tried to look busy so nobody would guess. Eli tried to be agreeable so nobody would reject. Eli tried to be funny so people would like them. But the more Eli tried to earn connection, the less real connection felt. Because real connection is built on presence, not performance. And performance is exhausting. Performance also creates fear. Because if people like the performance, what happens when they see the real you? So Eli kept performing and kept feeling alone. One evening, Eli sat on the bed with the phone glowing and watched a short video about loneliness. The video promised steps. Eli almost laughed at the idea that loneliness could be solved like a math problem. But Eli was tired enough to listen. Not because Eli wanted a quick fix, but because Eli wanted relief. The next day, Eli met an older neighbor named Noor in the hallway. Noor was the kind of person who greeted you like you mattered, even if they barely knew you. Noor asked how school was going. Eli gave the usual answer. "Fine." Noor paused and said something gentle and direct. "That fine looks heavy. Want to walk with me for a minute?" Eli felt embarrassed. The instinct was to deny. But something in Noor's voice felt safe. Like Noor was not collecting information to judge. Noor was just present. So, Eli nodded. They walked outside. The air was cool. Noor did not ask invasive questions. Noor just said, "Sometimes when people feel alone, they try to solve it by being perfect. That makes it worse." Eli felt a sting because it was true. Eli finally said it quietly. "I feel like I have no friends." Noor nodded like this was not shocking. like this was a normal human confession. Nor said, loneliness has two parts. The first part is the actual lack of connection. The second part is the meaning you attach to it. The second part is where suffering explodes, because meaning can become identity. Eli asked what that meant. Nor said, if you say I feel lonely, that is an experience. If you say I am lonely, that becomes identity. If you say I am unlickable, that becomes destiny in your mind. And then your behavior starts following it. Eli looked down. That sentence explained everything. Nor said, we are going to do this in a way that is not dramatic. You do not need a new personality. You need a new relationship with your own pain. Eli asked how. Nor said, first you learn to stay with the feeling without turning it into a verdict. That is mindfulness. Then you take small wise actions that create chances for connection. That is wisdom. Then you keep doing it gently, without shaming yourself when it feels awkward. That is compassion. Do it repeatedly and your karma changes. Your default changes. Your destiny changes. Eli wanted to believe it. That also felt hopeless, because loneliness can feel like a locked room. Nor said, let me tell you a story from when I was younger. I moved to a new place and I knew nobody. I kept waiting for friends to appear. Weeks passed. Nothing changed. Then I realized I was waiting like a hungry person hoping food walks into the room. I had to become part of the cause of my own connection. Not by forcing people, by becoming visible in a small, honest way. Eli asked what Nor did. Nor smiled. Nor said, I practiced 3 movements, not as a list to impress you, as a way to retrain the mind and the body. The first movement was to stop fighting the feeling. Nor explained that loneliness is like weather. If you treat it like an enemy, you tense up, and tension makes you less open, and less open makes you less connected. If you treat loneliness as a visitor, you can listen to what it is asking for. That night Eli tried something new. When the sentence I have no friends appeared, Eli did not scroll faster. Eli did not distract immediately. Eli sat and noticed what was happening in the body. Chest heavy, throat tight, face warm, a sinking feeling. Eli whispered, loneliness is here. That was all. The feeling did not disappear, but it stopped being a monster in the dark. It became something seen. Then Eli noticed thoughts arriving fast. Nobody likes you. You are awkward. You will always be alone. Everyone else has it figured out. Eli remembered Nor words about meaning becoming identity. So Eli tried a different sentence. These are thoughts, not facts. Eli did not fully believe it yet, but the sentence created a tiny gap. And a tiny gap is the beginning of freedom. The next day at school, Eli noticed something else. Loneliness was not constant. It rose in specific moments. When walking into the cafeteria, when seeing groups laughing, when hearing weekend plans, when making eye contact and then looking away. This noticing mattered, because when you see patterns, you can work with them. When you think it is random, you feel powerless. Eli began to see the second movement Nor had mentioned. Small wise action. Not huge social leaps. Not forcing yourself onto a stage. Small actions that create openings. Eli chose one small thing. One greeting. One question. One moment of eye contact. One honest compliment. One small act of participation. The first time Eli tried, it felt awkward. Eli said hi to someone in class and the person responded quickly and looked away. Eli's mind screamed, see, nobody cares. Eli felt the sting and almost shut down. But Eli remembered the first movement. Stay with the feeling without turning it into a verdict. Eli breathed and said inwardly, hurt is here. Then Eli tried the third movement Nor hinted at. Compassion. Compassion is not pretending it does not hurt. Compassion is not forcing positivity. Compassion is saying, that hurt makes sense, and I am not going to abandon myself because it hurt. That sentence was strange to Eli, but Eli tried it. This hurts. And I am here. The next day, Eli tried again with someone else. A simple question about homework. The person answered. The conversation lasted maybe 20 seconds. Not a magical friendship, but it was contact. And contact matters because it breaks the trance that you are invisible. Eli started noticing something subtle. When Eli expected rejection, Eli's body tightened. The face looked guarded. The voice got smaller. The words came out rushed. The other person could feel that tension. Even if they could not explain it, they would respond politely but not warmly. Then Eli tried something different. Before speaking, Eli relaxed the jaw and shoulders. One breath, then speak. The same words, but different body. The response changed slightly. Not always, but sometimes. And sometimes is enough to build evidence that change is possible. This is karma in real time. Your inner state shapes your outer interactions. Your outer interactions reinforce your inner state. Break the loop gently, and the loop begins to change. Weeks passed. Eli did not suddenly become popular. That was never the goal. The goal was to stop suffering alone inside the mind and to create real chances for connection. Eli joined a small club at school. Not because Eli loved every activity, but because clubs create repeated contact. Repeated contact matters more than one perfect conversation. Friendship is not built in one performance. Friendship is built through shared time. At first, Eli said quietly. Eli listened. Eli smiled occasionally. The mind tried to attack. You do not belong. They can tell you are quiet. You are boring. Eli practiced noticing the thought and returning to the moment. The sound of voices, the feeling of the chair, the breath, the simple reality that being quiet is not a crime. Then something happened. Someone asked Eli a simple question. What do you think about this? Eli answered honestly. Not brilliantly, just honestly. The person nodded. Another person added to it. The moment moved on. But Eli felt something important. Participation. Participation is different from performance. Performance says, I must be impressive to be accepted. Participation says, I am here. I will add one real thing. That shift is spiritual, because it moves you from craving to presence. Now there is a deeper layer in this story that most loneliness advice misses. Sometimes loneliness is not only about the number of friends. Sometimes it is about how safe you feel being seen. If you do not feel safe being seen, you can have many acquaintances and still feel alone. Eli realized this one day when someone invited Eli to sit with them at lunch. Eli should have felt happy, but Eli felt fear. Fear of saying the wrong thing. Fear of being boring. Fear of being judged. Eli almost said no. That is the old karma. Avoid to prevent pain. Avoidance feels safe in the moment. Then it creates more loneliness. Eli paused and used mindfulness. Fear is here. Then used wisdom. The wise step is not to force confidence. The wise step is to go and be present. Then used compassion. It is okay to feel nervous. You can be nervous and still show up. Eli sat at the table. The conversation flowed. Eli did not talk constantly. Eli listened. Eli asked a question. Someone laughed at something Eli said. Not a big laugh. A normal laugh. But to Eli it felt like sunlight. Later that day, the mind tried to ruin it. They were just being nice. They do not really like you. You will mess it up next time. Eli noticed the thought and did not obey it immediately. This is practice. Practice is not one perfect day. Practice is returning again and again. Eli began to understand the Buddhist lesson hidden inside loneliness. The mind clings to an image of how connection should look, and it resists the awkwardness of building it. Clinging and resisting create suffering. Presence reduces suffering. Presence also makes wise action possible. Eli also discovered compassion for others. This part is important. When you feel lonely, it is easy to think everyone else is friends and you are the exception. But when Eli started paying attention, Eli saw other people sitting alone too. Eli saw someone scrolling quietly. Eli saw someone pretending to laugh while looking tense. Eli saw that loneliness was everywhere, just hidden. One day Eli noticed a classmate named Sam who often looked confident, but always left quickly after class. Eli felt a small impulse to connect. Then, the old fear appeared. What if it is awkward? What if they reject me? Eli paused and remembered something Noor said. If you want connection, you become part of the cause. So Eli asked Sam a simple question about an assignment. Sam answered. Eli added, I always get nervous about these deadlines. Sam smiled and said, Me too. That me too was a bridge. Sometimes friendship begins with the admission that you are human. Eli and Sam started talking more. Not every day, not perfectly, but it was real. Now, I want to bring this to you directly. If you feel lonely, your mind will try to make it mean something terrible about you. It will try to turn an experience into an identity. That is the moment to practice awakening. Awakening is noticing the story. Wisdom is choosing the next small action that creates a chance for connection. Compassion is treating yourself gently when it feels awkward. Practice is repeating. Karma changes when repetition changes. Destiny changes because the path you walk daily changes. And there is another truth that can feel hard but is freeing. You cannot control whether a specific person becomes your friend. You can control whether you show up in ways that allow friendship to grow. You can control whether you keep your heart open while still having boundaries. You can control whether you speak to yourself like an enemy or like someone worthy of care. Loneliness often becomes unbearable because you feel alone with the loneliness. The most important shift is to stop abandoning yourself inside the feeling. You become your own companion first, not in a fake way, in a steady way. When you feel lonely tonight, try this. Sit, feel the body. Name it. Loneliness is here. Then add one compassionate sentence. This hurts, and I am here with you. Then take one small wise step. Message one person. Join one repeated activity. Say one greeting tomorrow. Ask one question. Do not measure your worth by one response. Measure your practice by whether you returned. Now let me close the story with the part that created the deepest change for Eli. One evening Eli was walking home and saw the same tree in the wind that had appeared near the beginning of this story. Eli stopped again. For a few seconds the mind got quiet. Not because life was perfect, but because Eli was present. Eli realized something. Inner peace does not require a perfect social life. Inner peace requires an honest relationship with your own mind. When your mind stops attacking you, you become more available to others. When you become more available, connection becomes more likely. And even before connection fully arrives, you suffer less because you are not adding cruelty to the pain. That is a forgiving heart turned inward. That is compassion as practice. That is the path. In the comments, share what loneliness feels like for you. Not in a dramatic way, in a real way. When does it show up most? And share one small action you are willing to practice this week to create a chance for connection. One greeting, one club, one message, one honest moment. If you are already surrounded by people but still feel alone, share what kind of connection you actually crave. Being understood, being included, being safe to be yourself. If you want more long-form stories like this, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and stay with us. You do not have to solve loneliness in one day. You only have to stop letting it define you. Thank you for being here with me. See you in the next video.